Hey everyone, this is going to be a review for the game Let It Die. This is a free game. That's right, completely free if you own a PS4. If you go to the PlayStation Network, you can download it. After all, the best things in life are free, right? But let's look at this seriously. You and me, we're smart people. We know that the game must have some way to make money off of you to return a profit. It's one of the oldest tricks in the book. If you give the user a sample, you can make them pay for the rest. One modern example of this is the company Valve. Nowadays, that's what they do. They move away from single-player experiences, and they made Team Fortress 2 a few years back, and they changed it so that it was free, because they noticed that if you can let the players play it for free, they'd be raking in millions of dollars from the microtransactions, all of the customization features, like how you have to buy hats and gloves for your characters. Let's examine how bad the microtransactions in this game actually are. Are they really that bad? I argue that they're really not. The game will shove in your face after a while all of these sales pitches, and they'll sell you special kinds of tokens that are sold that you can buy with real-world money. But you can also collect them daily, little by little, if you just wait. Using real-world money will end up making you sacrifice less time, because when you think about it, you can get these tokens in the same way. It's just you need to sacrifice time to get them. So the developers, when you see that decision, they try to encourage players to play the game a little bit each day so that the game retains popularity after a while. So the main thing to remember is that you can get your items a lot quicker if you pay real-world money, but it isn't mandatory in the game. So I noticed that many users like to argue there's a parallel between the Dark Souls franchise and Let It Die. I mean, it kind of is like that. That is where the name of this game comes from. And one of the main characters in this game, Uncle Death, he actively says to you that you will die trying to reach the goal at the end of the game. You will honestly die no matter what you do and how many times you try. But unlike Dark Souls, the death system is very different in this game. You don't just lose unbanked experience like in Dark Souls. So let me explain. You will have to grind a lot, and when I say grind, I mean you have to keep fighting the same repetitive enemies over and over again if you want to get better kinds of equipment, if you don't want to die. You have to become very good at dodging the attacks of the enemies, and this game has an extremely high learning curve. The problem here is that the game will actually sell you insurance for your death, and that's where they get the money from. You think that your health insurance plan is bad from real life? Well, this game will make your health insurance look really amazing. If you die, and this game has a unique way of doing it, if you die, you will lose that character permanently. The character that dies will actually become an enemy mini-boss that you must defeat if you want to get them back. That means that you hopefully have another character on hand that is of a comparable level to kill that character, to recover that character. It's that, or you can use a large amount of coins, and you get coins from defeating enemies, and you can use them to revive the character, but the price is actually very high. Or you can use a token bought with real life money and convert the token into gold to revive your character. That's how you have to play the game. So the thing is though, the best way that if you actually are using tokens that you use the real life money for, is that you have to buy insurance for your character beforehand. If you try to do so after the fact, after your character dies, you'll have to convert your tokens into gold coins, and then you'll end up taking on quite a bit of a loss, because you could have just spent a little bit less of your real world money into tokens instead. And you can see that when you look at the gameplay elements, it gets frustrating pretty quickly. You have a set number of characters that you can control, and you can use a machine in the hub area if you want to change your character. There's lots of other kinds of features, like you can send your character as an AI-controlled boss to invade other characters' worlds, kind of like Dark Souls, but it's controlled by a computer, not yourself. That means that when you play the game, you can actually face other players' characters. It's pretty interesting. My main issue with the game is that it gets repetitive rather quickly. The level design is boring. It takes place entirely in buildings. In fact, you can compare the levels to that you'd find in Persona 3 or Tokyo Mirage if you've played that game. The game will pretty much assemble pre-built rooms together to form floors, and you need to traverse many floors, maybe about 50, in order to complete the game and reach the end goal. It's fun to play at first, but it gets old really quickly. The gameplay is fun, but when you look at it, really, it's a less detailed version of what Dark Souls has to offer. If you want to see how thorough the combat of Dark Souls is, you should check out a guy on YouTube called Limit Breakers, who actually explores all of the little nuisances of the mechanics behind the Dark Souls battle system. I'm afraid that even the gameplay of Let It Die was getting too repetitive for me to handle, and I actually didn't complete it. If you can stick through the grind and make it through, you will find very interesting bosses. And you can tell that although Suda, one of the very controversial game developers involved in this, although Suda didn't stick around for the development of the whole game, you can see his influence on the game quite clearly. Like Suda's other games, you can see that he designed the characters. They're really interesting, and they're actually some of the most uniquely designed characters I've ever seen in a video game. But it's really just a shame that it takes so much of a grind just to get to them. Most of the people who play this game for free, they will never even see the first main antagonist of the game. All of the bosses are introduced in one of the earliest cutscenes in the video viewer that you can find in the arcade of the game. And I was actually really pumped when I saw them. I was really pumped to get to fight them. But, I'm playing the game completely free. The grind of the game was just too much for me to handle. I'm actually the kind of guy that does a lot of player versus player interaction within the Dark Souls games. And, while I find the combat of that series to be fun, this series, the gameplay mechanics were too much of a hassle for me. And you can tell from the way that they designed the game that it was just so poorly designed. Your weapons and armor break far too fast, and the game forces you to go into a grinding mode very quickly on, and it really sucks. I know that's how they wanted the game to make money, and I can respect that, but without all of the needless grinding and all of the repetitive tasks that you have to go through, I'm afraid that this game wouldn't last very long at all. So in the end, it's actually not like your typical Suda campaign game. I've played through the other Suda and Grasshopper Manufacture games. I've played through No More Heroes 1 and 2. I've played through Killer 7, Shadows of the Damned, Lollipop Chainsaw, Killer is Dead. And I can tell that, all of these games, they're all budget titles. They're all really fun to complete. And you can complete all of those aforementioned games within a reasonable time span without any grinding. But this game has, you can tell that when you play it, only a very, very exceedingly low percentage of the players will actually be able to complete the game. It's really fun at first, it has a really amazing style to the game, but I'm afraid it's just too grindy. My recommendation for you is to actually just try the game for free and see how much you like it. Thanks for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please give it a like and consider subscribing to my channel. We have complete game playthroughs in 1080p quality for all of the newest video game releases. Thank you.